Hey there, you are watching New Vision TV News. I am Ruthi Naseja. We start off this bulletin with the news around Uganda, where we look at stories making the headlines across the country. Now, since he stood in Uganda's direct presidential elections in 1996, Museveni has faced several coalition forces. The one to try to dislodge him in 2021 is already taking shape. DP, SDP and JEMA have signed a pact ahead of the 2021 general elections. This was crafted under the concept of unity is the only option, aiming at fronting a joint candidate in the general elections. Now, in a special report at the end of this bulletin, New Vision TV will look at the electoral coalitions that President Museveni has had to fight. Now, news from the capital city, Kampala. The landlords to the disputed buildings in Kampala have been given a directive to open and stop locking them so that tenants can operate. State Minister for Kampala Capital City Authority, Betty Namugwanya Bugembe, say that this should be done till court decides who is the rightful owner.
Landlords should stop locking up shops or even welding entrances without following lawful procedures to enforce recovery of any outstanding rent from the tenants. And finally, further to the above, government has also noted with a lot of concern that there is ongoing construction works being carried out by Mr. Drake Lubega on part of plot 50 to 52 of Nachivo Road without obtaining development approval from Kampala Capital City Authority. Mr. Drake Lubega is thus instructed to follow the development procedure.
Kwalisel and Nabukeda commercial buildings have been in a state of contention amongst businessmen Drake Lubega, Monswa Yanga Matova and the late Charles Mohanje. Government is yet to decide how the tenants will pay their arrears.
Government, through the Attorney General's office, shall negotiate a modality of opening up an escrow account where all disputed or accruing rent for the period after February 29 shall be paid and held therein until the final case is determined by courts of law. Number 6, the tenants are advised to continue paying rent as it falls due. 7, all affected tenants are hereby advised to remain calm and to cooperate with the landlord currently in possession of the property as government finds a lasting solution to this stalemate.
Police and other security agencies on Wednesday condoned of the buildings, letting no tenant access them, and some were arrested as they tried to protest. By Thursday evening, some tenants had started operating. Let's go to Isinjiro district, where a man identified as Gasho Myakule has allegedly murdered a woman reported to be his lover, leaving the residents of Resheba Shebere village in shock and grief. Now, locals found the body of Dorina Tkunda with deep head and neck cuts inside her house after news of her murder spread. Police searched the suspect's house but did not find him, but they found documents indicating that Yakule hails from Intungamo district. Investigations into the matter got underway as region police spokesperson Samson Kasasira urged the public to provide any information that could be useful for the investigations. Meanwhile, Natkunda's body was taken to Mbara Regional Referral Hospital for a post-mortem examination. Crossing over to Wakiso district, now District Chairman Matia Rangabwanika says he will petition Parliament over the divisive city status issue. He wants Parliament as the approving authority to disregard a recent proposal by Cabinet to turn Entebbe town into a city. Bwanika says the proposal of merging the 3 town councils of Kajansi, Katabi and Kasenja into a city is unrealistic unless it has been endorsed by the Wakiso leadership and council. His argument is that giving Entebbe city status will mean destroying its long-held beauty and instead give rise to the creation of slums. News coming in from Manafwa district. Poor parenting in the area of sanitation care has been blamed for the increased rate of school absenteeism. Dr. Mary Goreti Chitutu, the State Minister of Environment, says many schoolgoers have been infested with jiggers and worms, which has forced them to stay out of school. Now, Chitutu is also the district woman member of parliament, says a recent survey indicated that 48% of school-going age in the area do not attend school on a regular basis due to parental neglect. And now some girls have been married off, denying them much needed education. The minister went to appeal to the district leadership to scale up the campaign discouraging absenteeism by urging parents to play their part. She also asked the health ministry to organize regular deworming exercises in primary schools. Finally, news for those in Hoima district. A Kampala-based pastor accused of defrauding Hoima parents out of millions of shillings has again failed to appear in court for a third time because of illness. Bishop Watson Alvin Kalunji, who is 59 years, is accused of allegedly obtaining money from parents from Hoima with a promise of offering them bursaries for their children. Kalunji, who has since been granted bail by the same court, is being charged with multiple charges. Now that is it for the news around Uganda. Let us take a look at the news around East Africa and around the world with Lynn Komjishe.
I'm Lynn Komjishe, and here's news around East Africa. We'll start off with Rwanda. Rwandan President Paul Kagame has pardoned 367 convicts of abortion, complicity in abortion and infanticide offences. The move is part of the resolutions made during an extraordinary cabinet meeting that was chaired by Kagame on Wednesday. News coming in from Kenya. The High Court in Kenya has halted the implementation of a ban on non-woven bags. The High Court's decision follows a petition filed by Importers and Small Traders Association challenging the ban announced and pending implementation by Kenya's National Environment Management Authority. In Tanzania, the Tanzanian Parliament has suspended Arusha Member of Parliament Godless Lema over weak Parliament remarks. Lema has been excused from 3 consecutive meetings following a resolution tabled by the Ethics Committee, which demanded that the suspension starts immediately. In Uganda, the Democratic Party blocs, the DP, the SDP and Truth Justice Forum have signed a pact ahead of the 2021 general elections. The pact is crafted under the concept of unity is the only option and is aimed at fronting a joint candidate for the general elections. In South Sudan, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition has launched a campaign calling on IGAD to end confinement of Riek Machar, who is currently residing in Sudan. Machar, who left for Sudan after signing the South Sudan peace agreement, was confined by IGAD to prevent further escalation. Moving away from East Africa, here's what's making headlines around the world. Around 10.7 million people are currently food insecure across Somalia, Kenya, Ethiopia and Karamoja region in Uganda. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, said in a Tuesday press release that although the food insecure population is lower than numbers observed during the drought of 2017, which was 15.3 million people, there's a high risk of a worsening situation due to forecasted rainfall deficits. The delay in the start of the March to June long rains, coupled with forecasted rainfall deficits in April, are building on already dry conditions due to poor October and December rains over some parts of the Greater Horn of Africa. News from Ethiopia. Ethiopian Airlines pilots followed proper procedures when their Boeing MAX 8 airplane repeatedly nosedived before a March 10th crash that killed 157 people, according to Ethiopia's Minister of Transport, while delivering the first official report on the incident. News coming in from New Zealand, Brenton Tarrant, the self-confessed white supremacist accused of killing 50 people at 2 Christchurch mosques last month, has been charged with 50 counts of murder and 39 counts of attempted murder before a court appearance on Friday. News coming in from Washington, D.C. White House advisor Ivanka Trump is planning a trip to Africa to promote a global women's initiative she is leading. President Donald Trump's daughter will visit Ethiopia and Ivory Coast over 4 days this month. The White House said Wednesday that her schedule includes a Women's Economic Empowerment Summit in Ivory Coast, as well as site visits and meetings with political leaders, executives, and female entrepreneurs in both countries. And that was news around East Africa, as well as news making headlines around the world. I'm Lynn Komjisha, back to Ruth Nassija.
Thank you, Lynn. Now in our Daily Pearl of Africa series, we look at why Kisiizi Falls is a place of hope. There is no place in Uganda that has gained much popularity because of its history like Kisiizi Falls. What makes Kisiizi unique for tourists is how the ancient site associated with death turned out to be a place of hope. Now, the tourists who visit these falls annually come from the US, Europe, and the Far East. Let's take a look. The beautiful Kisiizi Falls lies on Chabamba River a few meters from Kisiizi Hospital in Rukungiri district, which borders with Kampala, the Switzerland of Uganda. In the southwestern corner of Uganda, these 30-meter-high falls meander through a valley of green vegetation leading to Lake Edward. This explains the rapid sounds of water that can nearly block your ears while here. But if you decide to calm yourself, then welcome the reception of this sound. All you hear are music melodies. The sound that hits and bounces off the rocks is accompanied by strong winds through the trees and the singing birds. The history that looms around these falls is clearly shown on these sculptures. A quick stare at them defines what tradition would offer if you did not add air to it. Traditionally, Wakiso girls who would get pregnant before marriage would be thrown down to meet their fate from this cliff. The practice was followed for a long time, till when the tables turned. This happened to a family which lost 2 children at the same time to the falls. It was the role of a brother to push his pregnant sister down the falls as family and community members looked on. That fateful day, as a girl was dragged to the cliff, she pulled her brother and fell to the bottom of the falls and died. It is reported that since then the Wakiso abandoned the practice. But like many African cultures, premarital pregnancies were prohibited. For the Wakiso, dropping culprits from Kisiizi Falls was the verdict. Such tales make the visit to the place worthwhile since they are told in a traditional setting. Some of the people who witness such actions are still alive. After exploring these notable features at Kisiizi, there are more activities you cannot miss out on. A small forest surrounding the falls is a great place for picnics, hikes, and forest walks. To attain a great view of the Kisiizi area involving yourself in hikes is very commendable. It also feels good walking on the bridge for those who don't fear heights. This is definitely what you need. Ziplining is just another interesting activity that can be tried out. Kisiizi Hospital is also greatly connected to the falls. When the practice of dumping unmarried pregnant girls into the falls stopped, the area became a place of hope and healing. The Church of Uganda established Kisiizi Hospital in 1958. The hospital now attends to over 300 patients who come for health services on a daily basis. Features like Kisiizi Falls are the reason why Uganda is called the Pearl of Africa. With such adventures, staying in this country gets better day by day. Now, for more daily Pearl of Africa series, visit our website, which is newvision.co.ug/Pearl of Africa. Our newspaper, the Sunday Vision, is also on the home of adventures. Grab your copy every Sunday for Pearl of Africa stories. Let's now switch to business with Lynn Komjisha in the Handshake.
Hello there, this is the Handshake here on New Vision TV. My name is Lynn Komjisha. I have with me Edna Ruth Mubiru. Edna, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, you left the country or something. Edna, some people are concerned and they think there's need to invest in grain storage and processing facilities at one-stop border points, especially to maintain the quality of the grain, until it is sold off or consumed. But Edna, we cannot do that, can we?
Yes, we can and we should. That need has been around for a while.
Okay.
Yes. You remember not too long ago when people were stuck with grain, then the price.
Oh yes, oh yes.
And the reason they are stuck is because there is no one place in which they were collecting. So you had stories from here and there. People in this district stuck, the others are stuck. And the bigger challenge is there is having it, but then there is how you handle it before you're able to sell it off. So when they say we need these storage facilities at the borders, the need is bigger than just the borders. We need to have collection centers where the quality is managed well.
What do you mean managed well? Who would be in charge?
Grain is when you harvest your maize.
Yes.
You're supposed to sell it when it has a certain amount of moisture in it.
Oh. And
it doesn't have weevils, you know. So if you don't have a good storage facility, that is where all those issues come in.
Yes.
If you don't have good silos being managed by, by people who know what they're doing, chances are high you'll have maize stacked in sacks somewhere, and then...
I mean, this is what we do at our border posts.
Oh, well, yeah, but we should be having specialized areas where it is dried to the right amount of moisture, and then we can sell it off over a period. The reason why we are always having crushed prices is because, one, we are not handling it well. We are in a rush to get rid of it.
Absolutely. Because
the longer you keep it, it becomes an expense on you as well. So it doesn't have to be government to do this. I think it's there's an area for the private sector to get into it and play as well, offer it as a service and make the money. I mean, I'm storing for you when people are ready to buy, or you become the person who stores and actually sells off.
That makes a lot of sense. But what's happening? Why are we not investing in these things?
There is something that Trade Ministry was doing, something on warehouse receipting. They are setting up warehouses to collect all this grain, and then, a farmer can then get a receipt to show that I actually have maize somewhere, and they are supposed to use the receipts in many different ways, even get loans off those receipts. But it stalled at some point. Yes, so there was a pilot done, and it seemed to be going well, but it hasn't rolled out. And even traditionally, when we were growing up, there were silos in villages.
Oh, yes, yes.
But then that has died out as well. I don't know if you've seen silos.
I've not. It's been
granaries,
granaries. We had a granary at home, then we crushed it.
You don't have it anymore.
We don't have it anymore.
Over time, the area of storage has been neglected. And that is a problem, because you can't sell off grain that is poorly handled, grain that has, mold because you've handled it poorly.
Sure.
Yes, so it's an area that even the private sector can get into and play. The Trade Ministry can do what it can, but, our budget constraints and priorities.
Oh yes, oh yes.
So if somebody can come into that area, offer that service, or be a collector who has a good storage facility, and you sell off, so you're not in a rush. Off season, you still have grain.
Yes.
You manage the price of the grain, you know, instead of crashing the price when you've harvested, and then it's scarce and it goes up rapidly. So there are many things that can come. And
this actually reminds me that we supply grain to our, neighboring countries, and I'm wondering in what form if we don't have, storage facilities.
There are the buyers that come from across the border,
right?
And when you're ready to harvest, they come with their trucks. So they are managing their own quality because they know they will not be able to sell that grain in their market if they let you handle it badly.
And that is how we are missing out on some money.
Yes.
Oh, well, I think that's a good idea. The government needs to look into it, but also the private sector, like you say.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Edna.
Thank you, Lynn.
That is it for business, but in our special report today, we'll look at anti-Museveni coalitions. Now, since he stood in Uganda's direct presidential elections in 1996, Museveni has faced several coalition forces. The one to try to dislodge him in 2021 is already taking shape. New Vision TV looks at the electoral coalitions that President Museveni has had to fight.
In 1995, Museveni's Foreign Affairs Minister, Paul Kawanga Ssemogerere, resigned and declared that he was going to stand for presidency. Political parties were still barred from seeking power, and elections were under the no-party format of the movement. All the same, there were two clear camps: the pro-Museveni movement and the supporters of multi-party politics. These formed a coalition called the Interpolitical Forces Coalition, IFFC. It was comprised of Ssemogerere's Democratic Party, the Uganda People's Congress of the then-exiled former president Milton Obote, and others opposed to the no-party rule. Led by Miriam Tagamba, IFFC pitched camp at Kabusu in Rubaga Division. UPC was still unpopular but had the grassroots network, which was vital, while the Democratic Party had lost a lot as most of its supporters in Uganda, where it had virtually won all the seats in the 1980 elections, had since turned to the NRM, and many remained there. The 1996 elections ended with Museveni victorious. IPFC leader Miriam Tagamba joined Museveni's camp and was appointed minister. In 2000, Museveni's close associate and former personal doctor, Colonel Kizza Besigye, quit the military and declared that he was going to stand for presidency. Several pro-change and anti-Museveni tendencies had developed. Besides the Democratic Party and Uganda People's Congress, there now was the Parliamentary Advocacy Forum, Uganda Young Democrats from DP, and some Young Parliamentary Association members. These came together under the reform agenda that spearheaded Kizza Besigye's campaign. The campaign was still lukewarm until ex-Kampala Mayor Nasa Sebagala, freshly released from an American jail where he had served time for forgery and bank fraud, made his dramatic entry. The Uganda National Examinations Board had just declared Sebagala ineligible due to lacking academic qualifications, and he threw his weight behind Besigye, dramatically electrifying the whole campaign. Sebagala started by throwing out Besigye's campaign symbol of an ear and introduced the hammer, which was supposed to knock Museveni out of office. Museveni won the election. Like Mutagamba 5 years earlier, Sebagala joined Museveni's camp and was given a lucrative State House scholarship to go to Britain and acquire the polish and qualification to run for office in Uganda. Besigye fled to exile. In the weakly contested referendum of 2005, Uganda returned to political pluralism and parties were freed to contest for power. A team of reform agenda players flew to South Africa and persuaded Dr. Besigye to lead a new party, the Forum for Democratic Change. Besigye's most fierce supporter was Betty Kamya, who ensured he was elected virtually unopposed. Because Besigye was in exile, the new party was led by Proscovia Salam Musumba, another woman warrior, as the interim chairperson, as they awaited the day Besigye would be able to return. FDC mobilized members and other parties as well to support Besigye. Besigye eventually returned, got arrested and locked up, but continued to get nominated. The FDC-led campaign rolled, but again Museveni prevailed and won the 2006 elections. Betty Kamya stayed in the opposition, but 10 years later joined Museveni's camp and became the minister for Kampala Capital City Authority. In the election of 2011, there was no effort to form coalitions and many parties fielded their candidates. There were 8 candidates and Museveni easily defeated all the opponents, with Besigye emerging as runner-up for the 3rd time. The run-up to the 2016 elections was dramatic as the NRM camp was hit by another very high level of split. Party Secretary General and then Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi showed interest in standing for presidency. Then little-known young MP Evelyn Anite led efforts to weaken him, ending in his losing both the Secretary Generalship and the Premier job. There were international efforts both in the United States and the United Kingdom to sponsor a coalition to defeat Museveni, and it was named the Democratic Alliance. Lengthy negotiations were held, but in the end, neither Besigye nor Mbabazi could yield the Democratic Alliance candidature for the other. Besigye stood again as FDC candidate. The Democratic Alliance remained with Mbabazi as candidate, and he kept DPs Norbert Mao and some MPs like Medad Segona and Beatrice Anywa. Museveni again won, with Besigye coming in a strong second at 35% of the vote. The Democratic Alliance's Mbabazi somehow failed to even get 1.5% of the vote. Museveni appointed several opposition leaders to the cabinet like Betty Kamya, Florence Nachiwala and Betty Amongi. The Democratic Alliance's Beatrice Anywa has also joined Museveni's camp. Now, 22 months before the 2021 general elections, formation of electoral coalition expressly seeking to remove Museveni has started. Key players so far featured in the effort are retired General Mugisha Muntu, who recently left Forum for Democratic Change and has formed the Alliance for National Transformation, new kid on the block Robert Kyagulanyi, known as Bobby Wine, and Norbert Mao. Ugandans are watching to see if the coalition will grow or even hold over the next 22 months.
Thank you for watching. That is all we had for you. You can get more news updates and other programs here on New Vision TV by visiting our website, which is newvision.co.ug/video. You can also follow us on social media. Facebook is The New Vision, Twitter is @NewVisionWire, Instagram is @NewVisionWire, and our YouTube channel is New Vision TV. Catch up with me on my Twitter handle. I am Ruth the Voice. Thank you for watching.